Hey everybody, Sandman here. I have a really awesome announcement to make, and that is Ken Person of Peterson Manufacturing just admitted on his own website that he did not invent the top of keyway pry bar, that he was just the first person to produce it. And I want to talk about that real quick. So a little bit of backstory, and then I'll read his admission. Last summer of 2023, I put out one of my very first videos, which was titled The History of Top of Keyway Turning Tools, or Top of Keyway Tension Wrenches, one of those two. And it was like a good 30 or 40 minute video where I was going back over 15 years of my experience collecting and using and seeing the iteration and all the changes to all of the top of keyway turning tools, specifically the pry bar. And in that video, my contention was that Ken Peterson did not invent the pry bar, that the pry bar was actually a European invention, and I have evidence that goes back to 1973 to prove that. So in that video, I presented the top of keyway, the lockpick design manual, and this was published in 1973. And here on page 16, we see that Peterson pry bar right here. So he did not invent it. This book was written by an American who took an MI5 or MI6 government covert entry course, one of those DAMES courses, Defenses Against Methods of Entry, over in the UK, came back and talked about it. In this picture, we see that the pry bar is in the bottom position. European locks, European profile cylinders are installed with the pin stack on the bottom of the keyway. So it's actually still top of keyway. You can use a pry bar in bottom or top of keyway however you want. But Ken had been pursuing the idea that he invented this tool for the last 10 to 15 years, and he'd been threatening lawsuit and legal action against all of his competitors, and especially the foreign manufacturers and distributors in the UK and everybody coming out of China. I'll get into that. So let's talk about his admission, and I'll provide a link in the description down below. And he says, I recently saw that the English wrote a book for their intelligence people on how to make lockpicks. And in that book, they had a square cut top of keyway turning tool. That would be bottom of keyway, of course, in Europe. So I stand corrected. I did not invent the flat top of keyway turning tool. I just designed the first that I knew of. Ken Person admitting he didn't invent top of keyway pry bar. Now then, the name pry bar is definitely, something that he coined the term of. He doesn't have a copyright on the term pry bar, but I've always given respect to Ken and Peterson Manufacturing that pry bar is a name that he uses. But, nobody owns the term wrench or hammer either. So, you can try to give, credit to somebody if you understand the history, but at the end of the day, you cannot, it's really hard to copyright a very common term. So he did not invent the tool. He was the first person to mass produce this, mass manufacture this for the rest of us. And he, made popular the pry bar term. And ever since then, every manufacturer except for one, Southward, is one of the only manufacturers that does not make a pry bar. Now there's about 30 modern day manufacturers. There's about 30. I apologize. Hang on. My dog wants to say hello. Hello, Daisy. So there's about 30 modern day manufacturers, including everybody coming from China, Germany, UK, US, everybody, Canada, Australia. There's 30. Of those 30, 30% of them, so about 9 or 10 of them, are what I would consider tier one, best of the best. These people are keeping up with the trends. These people are keeping up with the technology. They're using laser cutting. They're using 400 series stainless surgical stainless steel. They're using 301 high yield stainless steel. Some of them also still provide 1095 high carbon, but with a really high polish. But 30% of the manufacturer space has grown with the needs of locksmithing and locksport, and they've been providing the top of keyway pry bar over the last 10 years. And in that pursuit, Ken has tried to attack every single one of these people with legal action, threatening, harassing emails and letters. And I've seen those emails and I've seen those letters. Case in point, Alan Whitworth of UK Lockpickers, which is a distributor of locksmith and locksport goods. He has recently passed away as recent as April of this year, 2024. But he was one of my best friends. I've known him since 2010. He showed me screenshots of emails between him and Ken Person of Peterson Manufacturing, where Alan and UK Lockpickers was a distributor, one of the only distributors of Peterson tools. And Ken reached out to Alan with a threatening email saying that he said, you have to stop selling those Chinese knockoffs of my design. He goes, that design is copyrighted. And Alan's like, no, man, I'm not going to do that. And so Ken then said, well, I'm going to stop allowing you to distribute my tools because you need to be punished and you need to learn your lesson. I've seen these screenshots from the emails. And Alan basically just told him to go F himself. So, and then Alan passed away about 5 months later, but UK Lockpickers stopped selling Peterson Manufacturing tools, and that was the dumbest thing Peterson could have ever done. Like he had a market in the UK for that. Alan was his biggest outlet and market for that. Thank you. This is a very important video. Thank you from photo bombing my video. So, anyways, Ken's notorious for doing that, and in that pursuit of him trying to harass manufacturers in this space, I have had over 3 or 4, no less than 3 manufacturers reach out to me since I put out that YouTube video saying, thank you for making this video. I've been hesitant and intimidated to make these tools because Ken is known for harassing people, and he has sent me emails, or he has sent my friends in the manufacturing space emails. He goes, and a lot of these manufacturers saying, can you please take a picture of this book, the pictures of the tool in this book, so that I can have them in case he tries to take me to court, so I can defend myself. That was less than a year ago. People were doing that. So I was taking pictures of this book, put it around. A lot of these manufacturers were going online and buying this book. There's only a few copies left. And I'm just very fortunate that I have a large book collection. I have over 30 or 40 books on lockpicking, and some of them definitely, I don't know if this is the oldest one. I think I have a couple that go back to the 50s, but on average, 70s and 80s was a big boom for lockpicking as a hobby. Thanks to things like Paladin Press and the other sub-publication companies that came out of that era. Magicians started teaching lockpicking, and there was just a resurgence of paramilitary style hobbies because of the end of the Vietnam War. So there was a lot of Army surplus stores that were selling lockpicks. You could buy lockpicks on the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine and Arnold's Gun Room, which was an ad on the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine in the 1980s. So anyways, I'm very happy with this news. I'm happy that he was able to admit that. It doesn't really change much about his character, but this is a really great first step for him. So I'm actually very impressed that he did this. Because he's in his 70s, his only outlet for communicating with the community is to create a product, and then beneath that product, underneath the product description, he'll have a paragraph where he's talking shit about Bosnian Bill, or he's talking crap about lockpicking lawyer, or in this particular instance, he's admitting that he never invented the pry bar. It's very unusual. It's an unusual way to interact with people in the community, but that's because everybody that has ever called him has absolutely regretted calling him or talking to him on the phone. I don't know a single person that is his friend. I have more people reach out to me that have stories about him that are negative than I've ever had anybody reach out to me and give me a good positive. Now, I will say he does have a team working for him of employees, and they are very good at, I will say that the customer service representative that he has now is the nicest little old lady I've ever talked to ever. She's wonderful. But if you ever get Ken on the phone, forget it. Forget it. So this is a really great first step in seeing Ken admitting a lot of his lies, because in my opinion, he does lie a lot. I have other books that show other tools. I don't have one in front of me, but I have another book from 1988 that shows a lot of the tools that he sells on his website that for years he said it was his design. But you know, he no longer says that, because I think he realizes people can buy these books now. So I'm very fortunate that this is all happening. I don't really know how to end this. This was exciting day for me. So I've been vindicated. I don't remember if I stated this in this video, because this is my second attempt or third attempt at trying to make this video. I've had a lot of people celebrate that video, and I'll put a link in the description, and telling me that they're grateful that I found this design, and they're very grateful that I was willing to put that out there. Alternatively, I had a lot of people in the design space that hated me, that would reach out to me in my comments and harass me and saying, you know, all kinds of terrible things, like, you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't be making YouTube videos, you know, what is your end goal with all this, what are you trying to achieve with this, you know. And then they were accusing other manufacturers. Like, someone recently posted in the comments, I erased it and I blocked them, but somebody that has written a book on padlock collecting recently was harassing me in my YouTube videos, and he was stating that Jimy Longs was stealing the design from Peterson, and it was kind of upsetting Jimmy, because I think he was commenting on my videos about Jimy Longs tools, and he's like, these are all theft from, you know, Peterson Manufacturing, and Jimmy's like, should I reply? And I'm like, no, don't even waste your time. I was like, they're probably friends with Peterson. So there are people in this world who have done a lot for locksport and locksmithing, and they're hard to get along with, and they have tried to attack me at many different angles. They have harassed me. They have created multiple YouTube accounts at harassing me, and I've been able to prove them wrong slowly but surely, you know, one video at a time. That maybe I do know what I'm talking about sometimes, very, very rarely. But things like this, that I'm willing to die on this hill, this is one of them. And I feel vindicated today, and I feel like this is a good day. So that's it. I'll provide links down below if you're curious about all of this nonsense. I really enjoyed making the video, the history of topic keyway turning tool. I had a designer reach out to me who was really mad that I didn't mention their tools. And they thought that I did it intentionally. I didn't. I just didn't know that this designer had tools that they invented that they wanted to be spoken about. I'll be sure to add those tools in a sequel, if you will, to the history of topic QA turning tools. That video ruffled a lot of feathers, but I had a lot of manufacturing saying, good on you, kid, kind of thing, you know, like patting me on the back. So I had to take one for the team, and I've been getting sniped at from a distance from all these people pulling up all these different accounts from their original accounts, then pulling up fake accounts, creating secondary accounts, and trying to attack me over my stance on the pry bar. And I've finally been vindicated. So that's it. That's all I have for today, my friends. Thank you so much. This is good. This is good. People like Jimy Longs, people like Southord out of Florida doesn't even have any pry bars. I recently sent him an email. I was like, you guys should make these tools. Ken didn't even invent this tool. And they're like, okay, we'll think about it. You know, like there's people that don't make these tools because they're terrified of Peterson, of Peterson Manufacturing. So I think for the longest time, I think that was what made some of the smaller manufacturers, the boutique manufacturers, hesitant. And I also had manufacturers from overseas thanking me. So anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm super happy about this, and I feel vindicated. And that's all I have for today. I appreciate all of you. And that's it. Thank you all so much for watching.